I was told year after year that Donald J. Trump is homophobic. Little did I know, 6 years later, I would be at his home with hundreds of other gay Republicans.
Yep, that twink is me, fighting for fiscal conservative and defending Donald Trump on social media platforms. So what changed? Why did I change? Why did I stop? Let's get into it. What's up, guys? Welcome back to my channel. My name is Clarkson, and as you can tell by the intro, I used to be a MAGA influencer. Now, I would never call myself MAGA because that's just cringe, but that's who I was. Now, before we go into why I left MAGA, I want to talk about a trending story in the news because I think that'll help you understand why I'm no longer aligned with Donald Trump's Republican Party. So we're going to cover the chaos that is happening on Capitol Hill with this omnibus spending bill. So right now, the House of Representatives, which is in charge of spending in this country, is attempting to pass an omnibus spending bill. So what that means is that they're essentially trying to pass the budget. So next year we have money going into government programs and the government can continue functioning. If they do not pass it, the government shuts down because they do not have the funding. Now, the bill that they're trying to pass is a huge bill, packed with pork, a bunch of spending, and there's a bunch of other stuff in it that most people wouldn't agree with. Naturally, Republicans, who are supposed to be the fiscally conservative party, take issue with this big bill. Because when you think of the Republican Party, you think of fiscal responsibility, right? I mean, that's what Republicans have been campaigning on for the last year during this whole election season. Balance the budget, no more frivolous government spending, low taxes. That is fiscally conservative economics, and that's what you should expect from Republican representatives. But that's not true for MAGA. Trump and President Elon Musk, and I know that that's something that Democrats are calling Elon Musk, but it's true because, I mean, his involvement is getting a little bit George Soros-y, maybe even worse. That's a whole other realm of hypocrisy from MAGA that we're not going to get into today because I don't want this video to be attacking anyone. I just want it to be explaining my beliefs. But Trump and Elon took issue with many things that were packed in this bill. So because of them being vocal about this, House Republicans refused to pass this huge omnibus spending bill. They then came back with another spending bill that's even smaller. So when you see the size of the bills, you think, okay, well, there must be less in it, right? Wrong. Both of these bills cost the same. Both of these bills eliminate the debt ceiling, which is the main issue when it comes to government spending. So if you don't know what the debt ceiling is, that's okay. The debt ceiling is simply an upper limit set to the amount of money the government can borrow. So it's a credit card. Right now, the government, the House of Representatives, are attempting to pass a bill that does not put a limit on the federal government's credit card. So they can spend as much money as they want for the next 2 years without having to cut any government programs, without having to cut any spending. Now, this has been done in the last 2 years under President Biden, but anybody who voted for Republicans knows that this is not fiscally conservative, that a part of the reason why they voted for Republicans was because this spending was causing so much inflation that they wanted it to stop. But what's happening here is that Trump and Elon Musk, but no, just Trump and a lot of these MAGA Republicans want to eliminate the debt ceiling because they want to be able to cut taxes without having to cut spending. It's very obvious. Trump campaigned on cutting taxes. He also campaigned on cutting spending, but him and, all of the rich donors that are donating to different Republicans, they benefit from tax cuts. They don't really benefit from less government spending. I support tax cuts. I think that tax cuts stimulate the economy, but you cannot cut taxes without cutting spending, or else you're just inflating the debt, which causes inflation, which is a tax on low-income individuals. So what you're doing when you keep increasing the debt while cutting taxes is transferring wealth to the richest of the rich. They get the benefits, while the lower class ends up paying for it because you did not cut government spending. Now, if you're confused about the title of this video on why I left MAGA, I promise all of this is going to come full circle. Me talking about this trending topic is going to explain why I left MAGA. But what's happening in the House of Representatives is exactly why populism eventually fails. Now, if you don't know what populism is, that's okay. It's defined as a political approach that strives to appeal to ordinary people who feel that their concerns are disregarded by established elite groups. Populism is essentially an effort by a politician, or it's a set of ideas that rile up working class people by having an evil elite that are the reason for their problems. And a lot of times that is true. There is an out of touch group of people in Washington that simply are not advocating for the working class. Populism in and of itself isn't terrible, but it can only be sustained for so long. What happens is if your political ideology is populism all the time, then there is no set of ideas that you truly stand for. You're just outsourcing the problems in this country onto a elite or onto a specific group of people rather than actually solving them. What populism lacks is foundational principles. What populism stands for is determined by, wait for it, what is popular. And as a naturally contrarian person, that makes my skin crawl because it operates under the assumption that the majority is right, that what the majority always wants is right. And the truth is that in my experience, and maybe I'm just too contrarian, the majority is usually wrong or is usually lacking a lot of nuance. Most times when people come together and believe one set of ideas, it's lacking nuance. And our founders even believe that. That's why we have the Electoral College, because we don't want to live in a country where the majority is assumed to be right. So in my own words, which is what I tweeted last night, MAGA has become a populist circus, searching for scapegoats to cover their inefficiency. Look at what happened with McCarthy and now Speaker Johnson. MAGA lacks core principles, making it impossible to achieve meaningful results since the goals constantly shift based on what Trump wants that week and who he hates. Trump has been a populist since 2016. It is now 2024. And we see that that version of populism is not sustainable because Trump's opinion continuously changes on multiple different subjects. So my tweet describes MAGA perfectly. And I say this with a heavy heart. Congressman Chip Roy is a prime example of this. He is a scapegoat for their inefficiency right now, just like McCarthy was and just like Speaker Johnson is. Chip Roy is refusing to vote for this bill that Republicans are proposing because it eliminates the debt ceiling. Let's just listen to what he had to say about it on Capitol Hill.
We are going to increase the debt ceiling. Not just $4 trillion, that's false. We have spent $4.7 trillion in additional debt in the last 19 months. We're going to increase the debt by $5 trillion. That's what's going to happen right here by Republicans, increasing the debt $5 trillion. And what are you doing in the same bill? $110 billion unpaid for. Because you never have any ounce of self-respect to go out and campaign saying you're going to balance the budget, and then you come in here and pass $110 billion unpaid for.
So Congressman Chip Roy, who's from Texas, voted against this spending bill. And what did Trump do? He tweeted, "Chip Roy is just another ambitious guy with no talent. By the way, how's Bob Good doing? I hope some talented challengers are getting ready in the great state of Texas to go after Chip in the primary. He won't have a chance." He instructed his MAGA following to primary Chip Roy for having conservative principles nonetheless. And guess what? All the MAGA influencers followed suit. Cat Turd, this is a great influencer who's by no means a grifter, is extremely intelligent. Cat Turd said, "This is real simple. If you already stand against Trump, you stand against us. If your weak ass is already folding like a cheap tent, you don't have the balls or strength to fight ahead." The Cat Turd army understands this. We've been here since the escalator ride. Fuck around and find out. So I don't even know what to comment on that. I don't think it's even worth me commenting on that because that's just, sorry for using the R word, but sometimes you have to say it, blatant retardation. I'm sorry, it is. And not even somebody with Down syndrome would tweet something that stupid. Steve Gruber, who is clearly MAGA, tweets, "Breaking 38 rhinos," rhino means Republican in name only, "voted no on the revised CR bill. Let's primary them out." Yeah, these Republican in name only, these 38 people who are Republican in name only don't want to increase the federal deficit. They're Republican in name only. How does that make any sense? Then we've got another one. This one's kind of my favorite. Now, they always do the little breaking things because they want to get engagement. Rhino, there it is. Rep Chip Roy just responded to Trump exposing him and calling for him to be primaried. You heard the boss, Chip. Get in line. You weren't elected to listen to your constituents, Chip. You were elected to listen to Donald Trump, right? Right? You're not listening to the boss. And now all of these accounts are posting the 38 Republicans that are voting against this bill. The 38 Republicans who actually have a spine and stand up for something. You see, anyone who stands against what Trump wants becomes a scapegoat for the problems that our country is facing. They become establishment. They become rhinos because this is populism in action. In order for populism to work, it requires an enemy. Trump is the man who determines who that enemy is. It's never actually about solving problems. It's about finding an enemy to blame them on. MAGA is not fiscally conservative. End of discussion. Now, the reason I brought up that story is because over the last 6 months or so, I have been feeling very weary about where I stand politically. I built a brand on being a gay conservative. I mean, I've always said that I'm socially liberal and that I'm fiscally conservative, but nonetheless, I built a whole brand on being a gay Republican because I enjoy free market economics. I think free market economics are the best way forward. But I can't, in good conscience, support this type of governance. I have principles. MAGA is not aligned with free market economics. Putting a cap on credit card interest rates, which is what Bernie Sanders wanted to do in 2016, might I add. Siding with unions on port automation while simultaneously complaining that our supply chain issues are causing the price of goods to go up, that's not free market economics, using tariffs as a bargaining tool, and not understanding the difference between a trade deficit and a subsidy as the president-elect. What initially attracted me to Trump's Republican Party was the fact that we could have both. We could have respect for individual liberty while also having free market economics. But the problem is as the wants of the populace change, so do MAGA's principles, because they're just populist. I didn't leave MAGA. They left me. I'm not interested in being in a cult who takes direction from their leader. And I know a lot of these influencers, and a lot of them are great people, but a lot of them have no idea what they support. They parrot talking points in hopes of getting clicks. They create rage bait under the guise of being radically pro-free speech. They entirely dismiss the problem of misinformation because they're the ones who are spreading it for clicks. The party has become professional trolls, just like their leader. This is not governance. This is anti-intellectual immaturity at the highest degree. Now, I started feeling this way about 6 months ago, but I wanted to give myself time and space to fully understand what I was feeling. Because I didn't know. I could just be burnt out. You know, I've been doing this for about 3 to 4 years. I could just be burnt out, and I didn't want to come on here and make a video and then 6 months later be like, actually, no, I was just burnt out at the time. So I took the time to sit with this, but it started to create problems in my life and with my content, because even though I'm holding this on the inside, the world is still turning. So as I'm struggling with this feeling of not wanting to represent MAGA at all, not wanting to represent Republicans at all, I sat down for an interview with River Page at the Free Press. And it was this interview where things really started to hit me that this was not just burnout. This was something I really needed to address, because in this interview, it was about gay conservatives voting for Trump. And River is an amazing journalist. This has nothing to do with him. I sat down for this interview in, I want to say like August or September, right after RFK dropped out of the race. When he interviewed me about supporting Trump, I gave my usual reasons, because I've been doing this for 3 years. It's just clockwork. You just say everything, you just give your reasons. But in this case, something felt off. Something inside of me was like, Clark, stop. And I was just like, what's happening? Like, I must be really burnt out. But it's the same feeling that I get when I'm lying. I wasn't actually lying. That's the thing. I was just not being 100% truthful. The reasons that I said I supported Trump were correct, because I do support those policies that Trump agrees with. But the part of it that made me feel like it was a lie was wholeheartedly saying that I was going to support Trump, because genuinely I was an undecided voter, and I didn't know that until after this interview. So after this interview, I didn't know what to do with myself, because I knew an article was going to come out saying that I just unequivocally am voting for Donald Trump. You can even see it in the article. But deep down, I'm like, I don't even know if that's true anymore. I don't know if this I haven't figured out what this feeling is. So I thought I was telling the truth for most of the interview, and I was. I have genuine concerns for a Democratic presidency, and I still do. I know the grass is never greener on the other side when it comes to politics. Both sides smell like shit. Piss. So after I did this interview, the article didn't come out until like right before the election, but this was right before the presidential debate. I then watched the presidential debate as a closeted, undecided voter. I was just crossing my fingers that what I was feeling was just burnout. This is just normal. You've made politics your career now, so it's normal to become unenthused with what you're talking about. It's normal for you to start to question things. This is just a part of the game. And that's what other influencers told me when I had conversations about this. I said, you know what, I'm kind of feeling it. They're like, oh, this is just part of it. This is just politics. This is part of it. So I kept my mouth shut and I watched the debate hoping that Trump would win me over. But the opposite happened. Trump was frail. Trump was triggered this entire debate. His ego. Kamala went after his ego, and he took the bait every single time. She then said something along the lines of this debate: world leaders want you in power because you're easily manipulated through flattery. Essentially saying that his ego is his downfall, as she's poking it and making him perform terribly. And then Trump goes, well, Putin just endorsed her. And that's when alarm bells went off in my head. This is when the Tenet media scandal broke. And this is a media company who was allegedly receiving funds from Russia to push conservative propaganda, which is aligned to Russian propaganda. And a lot of these influencers didn't even know they were receiving funds from Russia. They just thought it was from like some anonymous donor, which to me, come on. I don't know, 1 + 1 = 2. That's kind of shady with the amount of money that they were getting. This is all alleged, and I don't want to get sued for defamation. It's just a little fishy. This story broke. Russia's propaganda is aligned to the platform Trump is running on. So why would he endorse Kamala? That's when I was like, oh my God, Trump is the fragile egomaniac that the Democratic Party has been warning us about. Or at least they're partly right about it. Not everything. They lie too. So I finished that debate, and I said to myself, I will not report on this election from a partisan lens anymore. I'm done. I will not do it, because I am not going to sit here and lie. I don't know what I'm feeling, and I can't do it. From then on out, I covered a lot of subjects. I even reviewed the debate. I said I thought Trump lost because I was being honest. I'm not going to stack lies on lies on lies on lies on lies on top of each other. I'm not feeling Trump, so I'm going to be honest about it. But I didn't just come out and say that. I was just being authentic because I needed time to figure this out. Because I'm not going to lie to my audience. I wasn't ready to share this part of myself with my audience, but I'm not going to lie to them. And I'm also not going to lie just to get further in my political career, like some of these influencers do who feel the exact same way as me. Now, even though I wasn't lying, I have a relationship with you guys, and I felt like that relationship was disrupted. A relationship with your audience is entirely built on that creator being as authentic as possible. I still felt creatively blocked. I didn't know what I was doing. Something felt uneasy inside of me. Even though I wasn't lying to you guys. When I went to vote, I filmed this video. I'm dropping off my ballot. Hi, it's been a while. I had to take a break from social media. Because of what was going on internally. Just letting you guys know that I'm telling the truth here. I talk about politics for a living, and frankly, this election would normally excite me. Politics excites me. I like the debate of ideas. Politics is intellectually stimulating. It should be insulting to all of us who are filling this out that these candidates and the way they've ran their campaign is enough to win the most powerful position in the world. I just want to say, which a lot of political commentators won't say this, I don't care who you vote for, because I can understand the reasoning on both sides to vote against the other candidate. I genuinely do. All I care is that after this election, maybe we start to demand more and bring politics back to the boring old discussions on different perspectives and different ideas. God willing, we can get back to that. So as you guys can see, I didn't say who I was voting for in that video. Now that ballot I was holding in the video, it had Donald Trump's, and then it had the House of Representatives being a Republican and the Senator being a Democrat, because I like to have balance of power. I typically like Republicans to be in control of the House because they're supposed to not spend as much money as Democrats, and the House of Representatives has power of the purse. So in my mind, I said, okay, I'm voting for Trump, I'm voting for the Republican in the House, but I'm voting for the Democrat in the Senate because I want the parties to have balance. I know when there's not balance, the extreme faction of one party takes control and then they go too far. The pendulum swings too far. So that's what my ballot said. And then I went in to drop off and scan my ballot. And as I got in line, I got the same feeling that I got while I sat down for that interview, that something was off, that I was not being true to myself, that the reason that I wasn't even thinking about who I wanted to vote for and the reason I just automatically circled Donald Trump's name was because of my career, was because I might lose a sponsorship. And if I don't vote for Donald Trump, I might lose sponsorships and I'll be deemed a liar and I'll be untrustworthy. When I got in that line, I said, you have a lot at stake if you don't vote for this man. Because I can't lie to you guys. I cannot do it. If I lie, then I won't be able to make content, because I'm creatively blocked. So I said, you have to vote for Trump or else you're gonna be lying to your audience. You're not gonna be able to create anything. In an effort to not lie to you guys, I was lying to myself. So I got a new ballot and I circled Kamala Harris's name. And I voted for a Republican in the House and a Republican in the Senate. Because if we have a Democratic president, that will slow down a red wave in the chamber in Congress, because she could either veto or approve bills. It would force bipartisanship. But I could not in good conscience vote for Donald Trump after already voting for him in 2016 and 2020, because I just didn't deem him the best candidate. And I'm not really a fan of Kamala Harris. I'm not. Looking at the way this governance is already starting, I don't regret my vote, because I genuinely don't think that either one of them were a good option. And I don't think it really mattered who I voted for on each side. I am fiscally conservative, but I am also socially liberal. I'm an independent, truly. And I didn't vote third party because it's a waste. But I didn't vote for just one party as a whole. Now, after the election, I felt like a fraud because I listened to myself when I got in line in the ballot box. Even though I stopped reporting positively on the Republican Party, I still felt inauthentic. So I tried to start making other funny content because my personality, I like to make funny content every once in a while. Social media to me is just me being me, but I'm very passionate about politics, which is why I talk about it so much. But after the election, I thought, I'm just not cut out for this. I'm not cut out for politics. I'm just gonna continuously make other content. I'm done talking about politics because clearly this industry is not for me, because I changed my mind. That's not allowed. I changed my mind. I have an open mind all the time because I like to learn. I like to continue to learn, and learning requires having an open mind. So this just isn't the industry for me. But what I've realized is that is exactly why politics is the industry for me. That is exactly why God has gave me this passion for politics, is because I have a mindset that is actually human, that is actually working to help people, that is actually listening to all opinions and scanning them to figure out which one is right, not believing things because of the social pressure, not going with the majority majority because it's popular. I have principles, and other people do too, and I'm sure that they feel lost with the way politics works. They don't feel like it's human. So that's why I'm creating this video, because I'm not going to silence myself out of fear. In the same way that I didn't silence myself in 2020 when I supported Donald Trump, I'm not going to do it here when I didn't support him. I hope that his presidency is amazing. I hope that it helps our country get back on its feet. And I don't think that it's going to be the end of the world. I don't think it would have been the end of the world with Kamala, and I don't think it'll be the end of the world with Donald Trump. And that's the truth. But I'm 26 years old. I cannot be expected to keep my opinions the same. And if you do expect that from influencers that are my age, these are not the people that you want to follow, because they're not continuously learning. They are operating under the assumption that they already have all of the right answers, and that is a dangerous game to play in life. My views will continue to change as I get older and as I get wiser, and I hope that you can come along for that journey. I'm excited to be able to be authentic with you guys again and to get this off of my chest. I even had to lie to some of my closest friends because I didn't know what to do. And if you're somebody that I lied to about my vote after the election, I'm sorry. I had to process this internally before I went vocal with it. And I frankly don't trust people to not run their mouths about this. So I had to keep quiet until I was ready to share this information. And like it or not, that is a lie. I think it's a lie that has objectively good reasoning behind it, but it's still a lie. So I apologize for that. And to my audience, I apologize for not being confident enough in my beliefs to be honest with you when I felt them. I apologize for not listening to my intuition when it was talking to me and waiting so long to understand what I was feeling. And this is a learning lesson for me. I'm going to listen to myself, and I'm going to be honest when I feel things without fear of coming off as hypocritical or as a grifter, because I know that that's the accusations that are going to come. I have principles, and I will follow them until I am proven that they're the wrong principles to follow. But as of now, that hasn't been the case. If you are a follower that doesn't want to be here anymore, that doesn't want to hear my opinions because they've changed, then that's okay. And I want to thank you for supporting me up until this point. Now, with that being said, you guys, thank you so much for tuning in. I know this is a longer one today, but I've got to take Millie out, right, Millie? Okay, well, she's asleep under the chair. I know this was a long one. Thank you guys for watching. Make sure you hit subscribe if you want to continue to hear about politics. I'm going to be going full throttle from here on out, because now that I've been honest with you guys, the Kraken has been unleashed. Love you all. Talk to you soon.